Hello there. Welcome to a very special episode of Binging the Force. I'm Jonathan, also known as Die Womp Red Die, and you found Binging the Force here with Rocky Mountain Fan Force. It's a place where Star Friends get together and do a trailer reaction to the new Ahsoka show coming in August. So this is the second trailer that they have released, right? And so we are joined today to take a peek at this thing and see what we think. Some of us have seen it and some of us haven't, so we'll see if you can figure out who is who. I'm joined today by Michael,
Hello.
Erin,
Hello.
James, Jefferson,
Hello.
and Mr. Ahsoka fan Dale.
Howdy.
Thank you, Dale and Erin, for joining us, because there was a week there where it was Jonathan, James, and Jefferson, and I was like, I refuse to change my name to a J name.
Michael.
Awesome.
So we've got the trailer, and what we'll do is we'll go ahead and we're going to watch the trailer in full with audio and everything. I'm going to have to remove that before we put it up on YouTube, because YouTube's never going to allow that. Watch the trailer yourself. It's available on YouTube, and stick around for our hopefully spirited discussion about the trailer.
So, Michael, when you see trailer reaction videos on YouTube, they're usually not removed, right? Is it because it's like faint audio, or they remove the audio and they're like watching it?
I mean, usually people are in a room together and they're watching it together in some way. The format we're doing it here, where we actually watch it on the screen, I like, because if you're watching us live with us, then you can actually watch it along with us. And it also allows us to not be together. You know, we're virtually in this platform, and we can watch something together, and we can watch this in this like kind of drive-in format that I've developed on the screen here. So
very nice. Let's kick it off and take a look at the Ahsoka show trailer number 2.
Awesome.
Okay, so we know that Erin had not seen this before and is a deep, deep, deep Rebels fan. So go for it.
I can't even. Man. Oh, God. I'm trying not to tear up. Just everything about it. Seeing Sabine and Hera, I'm dying to know where the fallout between Ahsoka and Sabine happened, because when we saw the end of Rebels, they were in pairs searching for Ezra. And to know that at some point there was a falling out, that backstory is going to be emotional. The mention of walking away from Anakin, that whole episode of Clone Wars just still tugs. You could watch it a million times and it still tugs at your heart how she walks away from the Jedi. I'm
Yeah, Dale, I know you are also very, very deep Rebels knowledgeable there.
Yeah. There was a lot of. Are we going to go through it again, scene by scene, or not?
No, because we'd have to cut it out anyway. So
no worries. So some of the Rebels stuff that popped up there, they hadn't really let on. Is there more story with the world between worlds? But that little scene there with the magistrate and Ray Stevenson's character and the other lightsaber wielder, her character is Shin Hati is her name, but like there was like this dome over the top of them that looks, something with the world between worlds. So we don't know exactly their story, but one of the pieces of the dialogue he let up there was he name drops Anakin. So obviously this is a guy that was around. Order 66 came and he split. He stayed undercover, and I think now he's maybe some kind of an assassin, or he's not a Jedi.
Obviously, either truthfully or lying, he mentions having known Anakin and having been told about her. Yeah.
Well, and there are Inquisitor's blades in that, if I'm not mistaken, the round blades.
Yeah, the twirling.
And so the Inquisitors are not post Return of the Jedi that I'm aware of. Right. I could be wrong in this. So did they get those blades from Inquisitors that they beat? Or, is it similar to something like in Obi-Wan Kenobi where, the character turned kind of dark and ended up taking over. Like, I don't know. I'm so excited to know the backstory. Like, they've given us just a taste, and I am dying for the 23rd of August.
For me, it's just all the kind of things that we hadn't seen so far. That just Hera talking, Sabine talking, Sabine's helmet. Seeing Ezra, a live action Ezra talking. Even if it's a little tiny, visual there. But I mean, just all the live action Thrawn's face still not talking, combined with the live action. Like, we've heard the voice because it's the same actor who played him in Rebels, so we know it's going to be that voice. But pairing that voice with the actor's actual face, and actually having a live action talking, menacing Thrawn,
Yeah.
So here's my question. I hear this is basically the next season of Rebels, but just brought to live action, which is cool. I'm totally on board with that. And it seems like most of what Rebels was about kind of the growth of Ezra and the kind of establishing of the Empire and establishing of a rebellion and trying to bring different rebellions together, right? And Hera had a huge role in doing that. I guess in this one, I was just trying to figure out, like, what's the overarching story here, right? Like, what's the reason for the season to exist, and what's either the MacGuffin that they're chasing, or what are you leading up to? And is because in this trailer, I see lots of good character connections, but you don't get a sense of any of the plot, where it's supposed to be going. And maybe that's okay. Maybe this trailer wasn't designed to do that, but hopefully it gives you a tease to make you want to watch it, whether you are a fan of Rebels or you're not a fan of Rebels. If you're like, oh, I saw this Ahsoka and Mandalorian, like, the episode we reviewed just a little while ago, is it enough to see her in that? And then you see this trailer, is that enough to make you want to watch the show? Put that hat on. What do you think?
Yeah, it's a good question. That if you had never seen Rebels before, what's your draw? If you're just a casual Star Wars fan, if you've watched The Mandalorian, if you've seen some of the movies, what's your reason to watch this?
Yeah, and that's my wife's perspective. It's like, she didn't watch any of the animated stuff, but she watched Mandalorian. Is she going to watch this? I don't know if there's enough in this trailer to be able to do that.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see how they do that, because a lot of times they do a pretty good job of that. If you haven't watched this show before, you don't know the source material, they do a pretty good job of kind of setting the stage. But with this, I don't know. I'd kind of agree with Jonathan. I don't know exactly what the plot is going to be. I'm really interested in who these new bad guys are. And of course, Thrawn, heir to the Empire, is this going to be kind of follow the books by Timothy Zahn, where he kind of just basically tries to come in and take the place of the Emperor and the Empire, and kind of create his own new empire himself. I'm interested to see.
Well, that's a good point too. Like, in Mandalorian season 3, that's what Grand Admiral Thrawn's name was mentioned when Moff Gideon and that kind of meeting of all the Imperial heads of state or whatever they were.
And they actually used the phrase "heir to the Empire."
They used the phrase "heir to the Empire." They mentioned Grand Admiral Thrawn, and so it's like the seeds have been planted throughout for this to kind of come together and be a continuation of those characters. And you also got to remember, like, right, all this still takes place before The Force Awakens. So how does, knowing where things go, hopefully we can still enjoy this piece here for just what it is, right?
I mean, for me, and this is 100% just speculation, because who knows where they're going to go, and I trust the Filoni. I trust the Filoni. That it's probably a conveyance story. That it's probably a story that gets us from The Mandalorian and the other series through to the future Filoni movie, which may or may not be, along the lines of Heir to the Empire.
Yeah,
I think that this is the pun intended bridge to that.
Yeah,
bridge through it.
I think this trailer was cut so well, because if you were a Rebels fan and you picked up on all these visual things, you're like, whoa, this is Rebels season 5, and it's live action. This is going to be great. But if you were a brand new Star Wars fan, or a Disney Plus live action Star Wars fan, you had no association with these characters other than the little bit of Ahsoka, where you don't really know her backstory, but you kind of like, well, she doesn't have a blue or green lightsaber. She's not she's doing her own thing. She's not really a Jedi like we've seen in the past. Same thing with those other Force wielders with the orange-red blade. That's not your traditional Sith. There's nothing to indicate there's a Sith, but we know there's a threat. And the way they mention the Empire there, we know the Empire is a threat. So it really planted some seeds of like, hey, there's a lot happening in between Return of the Jedi and Force Awakens. There's some good stories to tell. So I think the trailer did a really good job of selling that, like, tune into the show.
Well, I think it begs the question, who is this trailer actually for? And it seems to me like it's the point of this trailer is to get fans excited about watching the show. Because I mean, where is this trailer seen other than YouTube? Is it just something that people seek out on YouTube and look for, or are they putting it in front of movies in theaters? Where are people seeing it?
Disney Plus.
Yeah, but where on Disney? Disney Plus is a streaming. Everything you do on Disney Plus is deliberate.
Yeah.
Well, if you go to like on my Roku, if you go to Disney Plus, like home screen, and they've got the little rotating banner. That's
right. There's definitely places on YouTube or on Disney Plus where they kind of tease upcoming projects and stuff like that.
Because it seems really like, I think somebody said already, I think Jonathan was saying, the trailer seems very fan oriented. It seems to me that it really relies on you knowing who those characters are already. And this exciting thing about it being, ooh, there's that animated character in live action. Ooh, there's that animated character in live action. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so I don't know that it particularly sells the idea if you're not already familiar with Rebels.
Yeah,
I don't particularly care. I just have 2 words: Ray Stevenson. That's all I care about.
I don't know if it's going to bring in new fans, because that's, I think, what The Mandalorian did. Yeah. It actually brought new fans into the Star Wars universe again. Yeah. This may be too much fan service or whatever you want to call it, or too much backstory. Yeah. I would love to see a Thrawn series, honestly, and I'm afraid he's just going to get a short shift and defeated quite easily, and that kind of doesn't really go with his character. He's a very formidable bad guy, right? He's much more formidable than Emperor and stuff, because he's less emotional. He's more of a calculating, general type.
I trust the Filoni.
Yeah.
I think Filoni has a really good idea of how important Thrawn is, especially to those of us who read the original books. Like, we really don't want anything to happen that would be disrespecting his memory, I guess. I do think that there's a hint of fan service in here, but we could also think of it this way. This series could lead people to Rebels. I mean, my husband's never seen Rebels. He has no interest in the visual stylings of the animated series. Whenever I sit down to watch it, he's the first one to sleep. Like, it's one of those things where, but he knows that he's going to watch Ahsoka. He doesn't really have a choice. He's going to watch Ahsoka, and he's going to look at me afterwards, and he's going to ask questions, and eventually he's going to sit through Rebels, and it's not going to be my force. It's going to be because he wants to know that story. So I think it's really more so, and we also have to remember there's a whole generation of kids, my stepson as one of them, who watched Rebels, who is passionate about Rebels because it was made for him. It was made for kids his age. And so now he gets to step into this live action world. So maybe this isn't about, this is about future generations who have watched all of the animated series, and now they get to step into it, as opposed to pulling my parents in who have no idea what's going on.
Yeah. Well, Erin, I appreciate you calling all of us old.
I'm not calling. I'm the same. I had an aversion for the longest time. I did not watch Clone Wars until 2015. Yeah. So I had an aversion My husband has the aversion. It's not necessarily an age thing. It's more of we have an idea of what Star Wars is because
Yeah.
it embodies what our childhood was.
Right.
And we're not comfortable stepping into that. I mean, the prequels are evident of that. When I saw the prequels, I was like, oh boy.
But
Except
then
for
there's a whole other generation where that's their Star Wars.
that's their
Right.
Star Wars.
Their
That's
introductory. Yeah.
yeah, my younger cousins, my stepson, like those things are what they treasure as memories, just like we treasure the original.
Yep.
And so it's not necessarily an age thing. It's just, when did it occur?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When were you the perfect age to step into the Star Wars franchise, to be introduced to it?
Lucas
And
always said it was for
is
kids.
Yeah, it is. Absolutely is. And that's the side of a good franchise, too, is that if it can appeal to the next generation, to the young generation, and be able to appeal to existing fans. And if it doesn't, that's okay. But hopefully you don't just crap all over it. You just understand that's okay. Maybe this isn't for me.
Right.
This over here is for me. And that's fantastic that now we have another show. We have more Star Wars we can talk about.
Yeah.
And that's always a good thing, to be able to have more. And if you want to watch it, that's fantastic. If you fall asleep during it, then it's just not for you, and that's okay.
I think maybe the lesson is Star Wars is for everyone, but not all Star Wars is for everyone.
Sure.
Yeah.
And there's enough of it now that it doesn't have to be.
Yeah, they played a truncated version of that trailer during an ad break tonight during the Major League Baseball All-Star Game. A very non-Star Wars audience, but I think the point of that was, hey, this could be the starting off point for people's Star Wars fandom. Come to Disney Plus next month, watch this, and then if they want to, there's a big back catalog with those things.
Watch all the other stuff.
Well, I think bottom line, we're all curious. We're all probably going to watch this, and then we'll happily talk about it here on Binging the Forest. So thank you all for joining me here for this trailer reaction video. Hope everybody out there enjoyed it as well. Hopefully you will watch Ahsoka for that 2-episode premiere on August 23rd. If you're interested in learning more about the Rocky Mountain Fan Force, you can learn more about us on our Facebook page. If you're interested in learning more about the Rebel Legion Mountain Base, Erin, where can you go find out more about you guys?
We've got a website, rlmountainbased.com.
Awesome. Very cool. Go check them out as well. And thank you for tuning in. Tune in to us when we have our coverage of Ahsoka episodes later on. Thanks for tuning in, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
See you guys.